Hi guys, welcome to Salesforce Group, and in today's video we are going to build a reusable input field because in the previous video we were just copy pasting the same code again and again, so it's always good to create a reusable code. So let's go to our VS Code and see and build the reusable code. So if I come to my app.html, you can see this code we are writing three times, one for name field, then for email, and then for mobile. And here what I want is I want to create a input field component that just handle all these three scenarios. So let's go and create a new component here under the my folder, and I give this name as input, and we can give another name as well, custom input. And let's create this, and under this we are going to create two more files. First is the JS file and the another one is the HTML file. HTML file always start with a template tag, so we are going to create the template here. And for JS file, first we have to import the LWC lightning element from LWC package. So we'll just write import lightning element from LWC. Then we have to create a class and export that class. So we'll export the class, and the class name is custom input, and that extends our lightning element. Now our class is ready, our HTML is ready. Now we have to embed this component inside our app.html. For this, what we can do is, for time being, we'll just write a h1 tag and say I am child component, and let's go to app.html and embed it just above the form, and let's see if it's working. But here the catch is, in lightning web component open source, we have to use the namespace. So we'll use my, then custom and input, and let's go to the screen and see if it's coming or not. So let's go to Google, and our app is already running. So here you can see it's immediately printing I am a child component, so it means we are able to render that. And one more thing to note here, I have two capital letters in my component name, C and I. That's why I am putting hyphen in front of C and hyphen in front of I. If you have a different name, you can use that, but make sure you are adding my, because my is our main folder name or namespace, I would say. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take this complete component inside our custom input.html, and here I'll just remove this h1 and paste it here. And apart from this, we'll start taking these values from the parent. So I'll say this should be a unique id. For an id should be same for accessibility purpose. So I'll say this unique id will come, and it will come, or we will generate in JS. So we'll create a getter here that will generate a unique id for us, and we'll say unique id will be backticks. We'll say this dot name will come from the parent. Based on the field name, we are going to generate a unique id, and then we'll use math.random that will generate a random number, and we have to make sure our id is always unique. That's why we are using this technique, and we are just converting into the string that number, and then we are slicing with number 2. There are so many ways to generate a unique number. I'm just thinking you can ignore this part as well, because your name always be unique, but I just appending a unique number. So this name property will come from the parent. So let's import the API from the LWC, and let's create a global property that we are expecting from the parent. So first property is the name property, the parent should send always, and if it's not there, we'll initialize it with the field, random field. Then apart from that, we are looking for a type property, type, because in our case we are using three types. One is text field, second is email, third is number field. So we'll create this also a global property using @API type, and nothing comes, it will be initialized with the text. Then what else we want to control from the parent? We want to control from the parent a required field, and we want this field to come from the parents. There may be a chance this component sometime may not pass the required, so we'll initialize a required field and we'll expect this from the parent. So again, we'll create a property required with @API and initialize it with the false. By default, input field is not required. Apart from that, we are looking for a label that should come from the parent, and if nothing comes, we'll just print form label on the screen, and we'll utilize that label here. And this star will only come when we have a required property. So what we can do is we can use a template if true directive. So we'll say template if true, which means if the parent sends a required property, then only load this star, otherwise don't load this. Now we have our input ready, everything is coming from the parent, and this name should also come from the parent, and this property is already there in the our JS file or in our class. Apart from that, we need a on key app handler. This is form handler. Here I'll give this name as input handler, and we're going to create this input handler in our JS, and this will receive an event. Again, the same thing we'll do, we'll take const name event, name and value, and that we will destructure from event.target. And for time being, we'll just do this only, and we'll just print name and value on the console. So everything is mapped and everything is coming from the parent. Let's pass the values from the parent, and to use this, I'll cut and paste my first input here, and I want my first input to have the following properties. Like first is type equal to text, because we are looking for text. Then I'll just close this out. Then I am looking for name property, name should be name. Then we have to pass the required, because it's a required, so it's a attribute we have to pass. It will not assign any boolean, by default it's true. Then we have to pass the label, and here we'll say name, and that's it, I guess. Similarly, we'll copy this and remove this and say the name is email, and the label is also email, and the type is email. And same thing we'll do for the third property, that is our mobile number. I'll just remove the whole code. I'll say number is the type, I want it to be mobile, name property, and on the screen also it's a mobile. So we are passing four properties: required, label, type, and name. And if I go to my component, we are expecting four property: name, type, label, required. That's what we are passing. So let's go to the screen and see if anything is missing. Let's refresh the page, and it's saying this is like a typo of the type property. Let's go and check. We are passing type property, and type property, it looks okay to me. Everything looks okay to me. I go to app, we have a type property, And if I go to app.html, we are passing the type property text, email and number. And let's go back and refresh, and it looks it's started working. I don't know the error why it was there. I tried debugging, but it worked out. There is nothing wrong with our code, so it's coming now. Now you can see that our reusable component reduced the code a lot, and it's much cleaner now, and it's loading our component. And we can go and test whether it's printing in the console or not on typing. So let's go and inspect. I'll clean this out and say Nick, and now you can see it's still printing in the console. And Nick at Gmail, this is also working, and some numbers, this is also working. So our properties are working. Now our task is, when I type something, these values should go to the parent as well, so that parent capture that and update or call this our form change. And here what we're going to do is, now from the child component we are going to dispatch, and this is how the child to parent relationship work. So we'll pass the data. First we will dispatch an event, and to dispatch the event we need a event. So we're going to create a new event of custom type. So we'll say new event of custom event, and then we have to give our event name. I'll say form change is my event name, and then you need to pass the data to the detail property. That is important. It should always map to a detail property, and detail can be object or number or string, but we are passing object because it's easy to pass or map a complex data type. So we are saying detail will take the name and the value, and it's a shorthand notation. You can type like this as well, but if you have key and value map to the same name, we can use this notation. And I'll remove this console, and now once we start typing, it will call this method. This method should be available at the parent to catch the data. So here we are going to add our method, and whatever be the custom event basically that gonna trigger, so we'll always append with the on keyword. So form change is our event that gets triggered on typing or on change, and it will call our form method, that is our form change method, like this. So we are mapping one to one. We are seeing on form change at the child, call the form change method at the parent. So it will call the form change. Now here we have to tweak something. Earlier we were expecting the target to come, but this time it will come a detail, because if you see here we are passing the detail. So event is a detail, event has a detail property, and detail has the value. So we are saying whenever the event comes, go to the detail object and extract the name and the value and update that. So let's test this out now. Let's go back, and again we are getting, oh, now it's on refresh, it went. Now we'll type John at gmail.com and say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Based on the validation, if you want, you can add max, min, length, and I'll say check-in. And as soon as I click check-in, this method is printing, and this is printing at the app.js line number 36. And if you see, it gets called check-in handler, and we are getting the data at the parent. So now our reusable component is working totally fine. Let's beautify our form little bit by giving some proper padding. So let's go to first our component custom event, and we'll give some padding here, because I need a padding on the vertical level. So I'll say SLDS padding vertical medium, so it will give 16 pixel to the top and the bottom. And if I come back, you can see, if I refresh this, let's see if it's appending the styling or not. Here it's not refreshing. Let me hit save, and let's refresh it again. There is some caching issue, I guess, because if you see here, I'm already giving a class, but in my DOM that class is not coming. So it's definitely a caching issue, it looks like. So let's clear the cache quickly. So I have stopped the server. Let's run the server again. npm run watch. Maybe sometime the hot reloading not work out. So now our server is running again, and if I go to the app, you can see the spacing is coming perfectly fine. So sometime server that use behind the scene to spin this hot reloading will not work properly, but that's all right. Now we are getting the proper spacing in our form, and we can increase the font size of our label. So we can create another css file under this. We'll say custom input.css, and inside this we'll create a label that will change this to font size 16 pixel. And the other problem is right now I zoomed the screen, but if I go back to 100%, I'll close this out, I'll reset it, this text is very small and the field or the input field is very small. So let's add one more styling here. We'll say all the input fields should have padding 0.25 rem and 0.5 rem. Apart from that, this 0.25 rem will be on the top and bottom, and 0.5 rem will be on the left and right. 1 rem is approximately to a 16 pixel, so you can give the padding in the pixel as well. And I'll say whatever the size of the font that we type in is should also be of 16 pixel. So let's go and see how it looks. And now you can see that we are able to apply the padding and the font is little bit bigger. Let me zoom it a little bit, and just to prove that it's working, let's go and inspect this out. I'll zoom it a little bit, and on the input you can see here the padding is coming. Earlier it was like this by after applying this, and if I remove this font size and I'll type something, it's small, but if I increase the font size, it's bigger. 16 font size is best from accessibility point of view. Everybody can able to see this. And apart from that, if I go here, you can see we are applying some padding top and bottom, so it's looking good to me. Now every styling is there. We'll just have to add one border top, so let's go and add that here. And one more thing that I want to tell you guys, create your folder with the small name. Starting first letter should be small, then only your hot reloading will work. Earlier I created a component with capital C, that's why our page was not refreshing automatically. So I just changed every C to small, rest all will be remain same. Inside the class the C will be capital, here calling will be same in the HTML. My custom input, there's nothing changed, just change the folder's name to small c. Okay, so now we have to add the border top. For that I'll go to form and add some class, and I'll say slds border underscore top, so it will create a border line at the top. Apart from that, we can add some padding as well. We'll say slds padding top underscore x hyphen large, and let's go and see this. Now you see we are getting the border, then we have enough space or padding between the images and the form, and our form is ready. So now everything is looking good. Reusable component is ready, our form is submitting perfectly in the console. When we are typing, quickly tested that out, we'll add some numbers, check in, and everything is working fine. So now our front end is almost ready. Now in the next video we are going to set up the API key for our Google Sheet. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video.